Alvaro Peralta with MiningIR, day 2 of the Mining Investment Event of the North. With me is Nico De Lucia from Matrix Camps. You have a large breadth of experience in the mining industry, supplying services to the mining industry. And in that time, you recognized a pain point and a bit of a vacuum for all intents and purposes that you could actually address. Tell me a little bit about what Matrix Camps is doing.
Okay, so Matrix in general is, as the name states, camps, logistics, and aviation. It sounds like a lot, but in a nutshell, we service the mining industry, so namely exploration companies, junior miners. That's the clientele that we've been dealing with for the last 20 some odd years. So our primary objectives is to service them in their exploration program. So most of the time it's seasonal work, and that work hopefully evolves into something greater. So we follow them from the beginning. We like to study their program from the get-go, understand what they're trying to do in their exploration program, and then offer them a solution. So the solution around logistics, knowing how to get people to a specific site, how to get equipment inventory to a specific site where they're looking for their commodities, and the logistics around that, the transportation, the hauling of people and inventory, anything that's needed for mechanical work. So whatever equipment and machinery that they have on site, we can service that. And then obviously, since it's a very remote location, we need to figure out how to get there. So what resources do we have? What do we do to bridge that gap?
It really sounds like it's a mission impossible in the mining industry, right? You're taking the what people can't wrap their heads around. How are we going to make this happen? And you're showing them a plan. You're giving them a strategic plan, and then you're executing on that plan, which is it's a great thing to hear. How is it that a junior mining company, an exploration company, would recognize that they are in dire needs of your services?
I think what we like to say a lot is, the more remote a project is, the more of a challenge it is, the more it's a job for Matrix.
Okay.
Just because we have that experience in getting to those remote locations. We know what it entails of. We have the resources to do it. Whether when there aren't any roads to get there, we can build the roads. We can build ice roads, winter roads, winter landing strips. We have the aviation part, which is on its own a huge division.
It opens up the world.
So just that is really a nice tool in our pocket when it comes to getting to a specific location. So, we look at all these, these services, and yes, it's a lot, but it's the diversification that we've built through the years in order to do that job on a remote site. So, I think it goes, when we look at mining companies, today, a lot of them have accessibility via road.
Yes.
And that's, I guess, convenient in a way, but most of these exploration companies and junior miners don't have that yet, right? So we need to figure out a way to get their teams on the property, on site, in order to get that job done, so they can continue doing the work that they want to do on the site. So how do we support that? That's the big question. What do we do in order to sit with them, take a look at what they're trying to do, where they're trying to do it, and say, okay, well, this is what you actually need. So I think it's more of building that confidence, that trust with our partners, I guess I can say, because we're working with them. We don't see that as working with a client. It's more of a partnership to say, well, let's look at what your objectives are, and let's try to get that done together.
It really allows the junior miners, the geologists, and whoever's involved in a junior mining project to concentrate on what they do best and allow you to provide the logistics in being able to allow them to do that. I want to paint a picture for our viewers who perhaps don't understand the mining industry to the depth that you do. Once upon a time, sure, you go back to the Klondike Rush or whatever. Yeah, it was a mule and a shovel on your shoulder, and you walked the lot, and your horseback, whatever it was that you got out there. But let's bring it in a little closer. In the last 15, 20 years, what's changed? And I mean, technology must play a huge part in this. People are demanding Wi-Fi. I'm guessing, and all these things. So, what are the changes that have happened?
Yeah, I think you touched a bit on that when you said technology. Like you're looking at all the geologists. They're using technology now to analyze results, and so every kind of service that's being provided and within the scope of mining, technology has a huge role to play. But also, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it more of a, especially in our scope, we're trying to make it more of a home for what's happening on that site. It doesn't have to be that the geologists are working in a little tent and don't have access to the amenities that
they're accustomed to.
So we want to be able to provide that and give more of a home to them. So we look at the basic things from our experiences. You want to have comforts. You want to feel comfortable. You want to have a cozy space that's warm, that's kind of protecting from the wilderness. You want to have food. You want to have some sort of quality of food that's being provided. You want to have a network so that you can stay connected to your families that you're away from for several weeks or months at a time. So we look at these key elements and we say, well, how do we get that happening on this remote site? So it sounds like a no-brainer, but there's a lot of planning behind that. There's a lot of logistics, a lot of accessibility to resources within a given region, because region per region it'll change, right? So we've become, I guess, experts throughout Canada in saying that, well, we know how to make that work. We know how to give a quality product and service on that site specific to the area. So I think that's key, is that recognizing the human part of the job, making sure that whoever's on the site is content, is satisfied, and is feeling like they're at home in a way, that they're connected to home at least.
Taking urban pleasures into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's something more that I'd like to hear from you, and that is, what are the stories that you have heard from your clients before they contracted you to having you in, and how has their world changed?
Yeah, I think what happens often in the space is that when I say they, a lot of the junior miners or the exploration companies, and it's okay, because when you're doing exploration work, you try to limit expenditure, which is normal. It's natural, to try to be cost conscious.
Right. So
a lot of the times that element is being managed internally. It's being managed by the geologists themselves. So what happens is that creates maybe a bit of a frustration scenario where they say, okay, well, I'm working all day, now I gotta
sleep on top of a rock.
Yeah, I gotta get that generator going, or I gotta make myself some food, or I gotta make sure that everything is working around this, our accommodations piece to the project, and it's it creates a bit of frustration maybe, or it takes away from the productivity.
Well, it makes them less efficient in terms of how much hours they can spend on the ground.
So at a certain point in time, the realization becomes, well, let's take a look at this because it'll help us tremendously, and and when they approach us, we kind of explain what we do, and we explain the cost, obviously, but also the reward to that. So oftentimes it's justified, because you say, yeah, well, there's a cost to it, but you have to realize on the other side what you're getting out of it.
I think it's an investment. I think it's an investment in your human resource, right? You're giving them the capacity to work at full capacity.
Yeah.
And that is a huge thing. If you're spending time, like you say, turning on generators, and taking care just of your livelihood, then you're not spending time on behalf of shareholders out on the ground doing the exploration that needs to be done. And that if that's 20% of your day, That's a huge efficiency. So this is a huge investment, not just on on the balance sheet of a company, but in the human resource of not burning out. Hey, let's face it, the junior mining industry, there's still a lot of old farts like myself still in it, and that new generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they're not quite there yet. And sure, they might enjoy it a little bit, but they're used to their creature comforts. Good luck getting a millennial without access to a cell phone.
Yeah.
They're not going to go.
Yeah.
So, there's change in society, the expectation of constant communication. So, being able to not just with our loved ones, obviously, it's nice to FaceTime or Zoom or whatever with our families, but it's nice to get in with the boardroom as well and be able to communicate clearly on the ground, on time. So the investment is well worth it.
And we like to say that we're boots on the ground also, and what that means is that we see what's happening. It's not work from a distance for us. We have a team that's on site.
Right.
We see what's going on. We see
so you can tweak.
Yeah, we see the realities. There's instantaneous feedback. If anything is needed in addition to what's set up, we're aware of it. And the beauty to that is that as that project grows, we have a social responsibility. Oftentimes we're working in a community, right? Or communities are impacted, and we have a responsibility to be aware of what's happening in the communities and to have a presence and engagement in the communities.
You have your own ESG culture that you're bringing to the table.
Well, there's ESG. Well, first of all, ESG is huge. There's health and safety, but also we want to make sure that if the project sees results and it goes into an advanced exploration stage and eventually mining and producing mining site, we want to have already
set a foundation,
but built a relationship already with the communities impacted. We want them to have a role and involvement in the project, and being a service provider in that space, we can bring them in and show them what we're doing. Because at a certain point in time, when that project grows, we'll need their support, and we'll gladly bring them into the project, create working opportunities, create an economic impact on the communities. So all these things are something that we think of from the very beginning. So that's, I guess, added value that we like to show our partners.
It really sounds like one of the things that Matrix is doing is they're not just offering service. You're becoming a fractional member of a team when you contract with a junior miner, with an exploration company. You become part of that team, and you grow with them as the needs go. I have a couple of questions for you. Give me an idea geographically. What are some of the sites that you guys have worked on and that would be ideal for you to work in?
Oh boy, the list is long. Matrix, being in the business for 20 some odd years, we have guys on our team that have been in the space for even longer than that. So collectively, we always say that we have over 150 years of experience, and that's true in a sense. So organically, we've touched every single province and territory across Canada. I won't even go into the United States. Let's focus on Canada. And they started in Yellowknife. That's kind of the origin of Matrix. So the footprint, or I would say the big market share, the region of strength, is the far north. So you're looking at Nunavut, northern Quebec,
Yukon.
Northwest Territories, Yukon, and then going all the way down through the west side, BC.
All of the northern parts of the provinces.
Yeah, and all
Quebec,
the northern parts of the provinces. So
goes pretty high up.
And I guess, by default, we follow the trends of the commodities. That's just how, I guess, the market is.
That's what's going to drive it.
So, sometimes when uranium does well, we'll have a surge in Saskatchewan. Lithium is shooting up, then we'll have a surge in Quebec, gold in BC. So it kind of, from year to year, it differs. But what I want to say is that we have experience and we have been in every single province and territory, which means that those resources are available, the partnerships are available, so we can do business everywhere, and we currently do. So I think that, to pinpoint a specific project is a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But
so let me ask you this then. You've been around the industry for a while, recently with Matrix. You've been in the industry for a while. What's the wildest place you've ever been? What comes to top of mind?
I think the wildest place I've ever been is, and it's not even that wild, but I would say it's in northern BC. Going up to Dease Lake and Telegraph Creek, and just kind of looking at the history with the First Nations up there, spending time in certain communities. With limited access to
really disconnected in some ways.
Kind of disconnect, right? So you're fully embracing yourself into nature and living like our partners are living. A lot of communities don't have access to the infrastructures that
you guys bring in.
So like for me that's always been, I gave that example in BC, but like you look at all the, I've been up in northern Quebec and northern Manitoba, and all these experiences kind of humble you in a way when you realize that you don't really need that. You don't need all the infrastructure that you need, so you get to appreciate the simpler things. Spending time with people, working on your work and being a bit disconnected. It's fine. So in a sense, it's ironic because we're trying to bring a bit of those resources to a remote site, but to a certain extent, so
I'm sure a lot of geologists really appreciate disconnecting and just being on their own with nature, and it's one of the reasons they love the work that they do. And having said that, having this tension and holding this beauty that you're talking about, because you don't want to ruin that either, right? It's precious. So in your strategic component, you're trying to also protect that. It's amazing.
Well, it's like when you look at all these mining projects, that's what the communities are doing. They're trying to conserve their land or have
minimal impact.
Minimal impact, right? From a land standpoint, from an environmental standpoint. So that ties into the whole kind of understanding. It's one thing to be of service to the exploration program, but it's another thing to do it in a way where you create a win-win scenario for everyone.
Right.
So that awareness and that kind of implication creates a healthy kind of partnership among all the stakeholders, I guess I can say, in the project. So especially the land stakeholders. So it's just having having that intuition, thinking of it and actioning it, and making sure that we make the right decisions all together. Everyone's a part of that decision-making process, and then we can execute the work together.
It sounds super exciting. Maybe someday, you'll call me up and throw me in one of your suitcases and take me, or backpacks or whatever it is, and take me with you. I would love that. Nico, it's been such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much.